This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to the Front Porch. Real conversations about life, leadership, and perseverance. Each week, Dennis Polian and Jay Davis bring you inspiring stories and lessons to help you grow, lead, and thrive. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Front Porch. I'm Dennis Polian with Jay Davis. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for listening and checking in. Today's topic is business in general, and essentially, Jay, how damn hard it is to own a business, start a business, take a risk, manage, wear all the hats, and scale at the same time. You know, we had been talking about it before, and I went through some personnel changes last week in my organization, and was just thinking about, man, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've experienced some interesting challenges professionally, whether it was Hurricane Katrina and evacuating a football team and trying to, as a one-man show on the non-coaching side, bring a football team through a tragedy and loss and still function and go to school and practice and try to win games, to everything that I did with COVID, with the Pac-12 and the University of Arizona. And nothing compares to the last year in terms of how difficult it is to get a business off the ground, build a team, develop people, market, build a brand, learn product, hone skill, serve clients. Yeah, you know.
I'm getting a headache. You cussed in the opening. I might cuss now. This is pretty damn hard. Sounds like, right? My goodness. Yes, it, and I think we're supposed to have a guest today, but couldn't make it. But I think some of our best conversations, not to disparage any of our guests, we love having our guests, but this is the epitome of the front porch. Mm-hmm. I mean, we talk once, twice, 3 times a day. And this is a topic that comes up every single time we talk. We have become each other's counselors and each other's mentors in different ways.
Mm-hmm. You're overpriced, by the way.
As I told Josh before we started this, I'm not just a pretty face. It is, and I think this comes back to kind of round it out and get started here. We were having a conversation a week or two ago, and I was thinking about when I was driving back from Temple to Waco. When I was with the district, my last year and a half was recruiting agents. And I think almost at least once a day, but for sure driving home, is how would I recruit being back on the agency side? And it's not that I feel like I was misleading or, I had an agency for almost 10 years. I was never unethical. I was never, in terms of sales, what you and I do as far as agency owners is we're different in the fact that we provide a professional expertise and a service to help our clients and prospects. And that has never wavered. And I think that's always what's been our connection. When we first met, and that's even grown, and we've cultivated that with each other, making sure that, not to sound corporate, our mission statement or whatever, is always to help people, because it doesn't matter what kind of business you have or what you do or what service you provide, you're the expert in that space. And your language and your jargon can sound a bit foreign to people. And it's our job to make a foreign language be fluent for our prospects and our customers and our clients. I don't like customers. I like clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads us to today's podcast.
Yeah. And doing all of that's tough. It's what's the hardest thing that you had to tackle when you started?
Well, that was the question I had for you, but well, I think I mentioned this to you recently, that the success that we were fortunate to have in our previous careers, we had a lot of experience there. So we didn't necessarily have to pivot. We just continued to kind of sharpen our skills. And I think the hardest part is thinking that you could put your name on a door, you could put your name on a sign, and that, not in a cocky or an arrogant way, because we're very professional in what we do. And I don't mean that from an arrogant standpoint, but we do our due diligence to make sure that we prepare a solution for our clients and our prospects to take care of their individual situation. So to put a shingle out there, quote unquote, and think that people were just going to flock to us because we're good people, it didn't work out that way. Shocking.
Yeah, what a shocker. It's funny. I was thinking about that actually 2 days ago, where my office is. 2 businesses have started and closed within the span of 3 months. And one was retail and one was a professional service. And one had no sign. I talked to them about, hey, what are you doing marketing? Mm-hmm. What are you doing outbound online? Who's your target customer? They hadn't prepared for any of it. They just had a good idea, and they signed a lease, a 3-year lease. Oof. In an expensive location, and it was a nice little spot and really good people, a mother and a daughter, but they had no plan and they had no support. And they gave up pretty quickly, which also tells me they really didn't have any capital or savings to kind of get them through the growth phase. And watching that happen, I just felt for them, mm-hmm. But I also thought about myself, thinking, okay, I am pretty good at this because I'm still open. and I
guess that's a good barometer, right?
I went back and looked at our industry and the standards and the percentages and how many people make it past the first year. So I've already jumped a group of folks because I've made it past the first hurdle, which is getting through your first year, mm-hmm. as a business owner in our space, and across industries, the statistics are pretty similar, which is really really telling. It kind of gives you a hint that what it takes is what it takes, regardless of whatever service you're providing or product you're selling. And when it's other people's money, it's a heck of a lot easier to be a professional than it is when it's your money, because sometimes your money doesn't last as long, or you're not going to pay yourself for a period of time, and you're not ready for that. And it really drives home the point that it takes a special mindset, not a special person, not a special idea,
right?
A special mindset, like real mental toughness and confidence and belief in yourself, and enough people around you to support you and encourage you and keep you on track. Because, right, like I get questions all the time from people in my world. How's it going? Do you like it? Or what's your profit? What's your this? What's your that? And it's like, it doesn't, it's been a year. It doesn't really work that way. And they don't understand. But they're not putting their neck out and their name out,
Right.
and getting uncomfortable. And it's very easy to fall back into that and you listen to those people because you trust them. You've known them for a long time and you grew up in another industry with them. And then all of a sudden you start to question yourself, which makes it even harder. Have you ever had those moments?
Yeah, it was generally from people that, and again, not to say anything bad about anybody that loved and cared about us, but that's kind of the hard part of it is your inner circle starting out is the people that love and support you.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in a lot of instances, they never owned a business or started a business. So for that mother-daughter, I feel bad for them. God bless them. But my goodness, if you don't have real people in your inner circle to slap you in the face, kick you in the butt, no matter how much education you have, how much business acumen you have, how much street smarts, savvy you have, if you're not fully prepared, and to kind of jump off on a tangent is if you don't have people that are recruiting you that don't truly care about you, not so much as a person, but as an entrepreneur, then they really don't have your best interests at heart when they're recruiting you into, in both of our cases, a total 180 pivot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in particular franchises.
Yes.
Or in our space, the major insurance carriers.
Mm-hmm.
You're reminding me of the Chick-fil-A process, which I've gone through out of curiosity because I just like to see how
you're
folks
very
recruit.
curious. Anybody out there wants to know, not to interrupt you, Dennis is very curious.
Ted Lasso taught me that.
You're not a goldfish, though.
No, I am definitely not a goldfish. The Chick-fil-A process, what it boils down to, and I love Chick-fil-A. We go there at least once a week with the kids. But what it boils down to is, hey, we don't even call you owners. You're operators because you don't own it.
Right.
We own it. And you can make really, really good money, but be prepared to open the restaurant at 5 a.m. and be prepared to close it at 10 p.m. And we're not going to hide from that. But we're only open 6 days, and we have values.
Ooh.
And we have standards, but you're not the owner.
Right.
And what I appreciate about that is that it's upfront. They don't hide it. They are very honest about it. And it is a great opportunity for some people.
They're trying to protect their brand too.
Exactly. And it's still a great opportunity for some people. That's not, what I'm into at this point in my life.
That's not
me.
you. No.
And then I've gone through the recruiting process with some different insurance carriers, and two very different processes there. Neither of them completely forthcoming, but one was much more honest when you asked the right questions, but you had to ask the questions. And when you don't know what those questions are, and most people don't. And I didn't,
no.
I know what they are now, but it can be very misleading, and that's not necessarily a negative thing, because if you're going to take the jump as a business owner, you're going to go out on your own, you're going to try to be an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it's your responsibility to own the research and the preparation and the due diligence to make the best decision, because there's always going to be somebody that's not going to give you the complete answer. There's always going to be somebody that might not necessarily have your best interests at heart. And if you don't have the wherewithal to fight through that in those moments when you learn, oh, I should have done that differently, I should have known that, I should have asked that, it can send you down a rabbit hole of distraction that actually, kind of gets you away from the whole point of being an entrepreneur.
Life moves fast, but the unexpected doesn't care about your calendar. At the Polian Agency, we help successful families protect what they've worked so hard to build. From life insurance to smart coverage strategies, we tailor protection that grows with you, so you're prepared for whatever's next. The Polian Agency, where protection meets purpose. Visit PolianAgency.com or call 254-772-1444 to start the conversation.
Yeah, and quote unquote, the wherewithal is, if you are going to, let me reframe it. If you're going to have the aspirations to be a business owner, you have to have the confidence and the self-security and the self-awareness to do your due diligence to ask those questions. Whether you know what the heck you're talking about or not, based on your past experiences, based on the education that you pursued, even though it's a foreign industry lane, et cetera, it's still the same in a way. But, I'm thinking about this from a recruiting standpoint. Being a recruiter is that I can tell you everything. I can be forthright. I can be honest. I can tell you it's really hard. But I'm also expecting you, if you're going to make this kind of capital investment and you're really serious about this, then I hope to goodness you've done your research too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also coming to me for professional expertise. So it's also my responsibility, from being in that space, in that lane, to provide the right information, the right experience, and the right resources to help you make an educated decision.
Yep.
And that's my responsibility as a recruiter, if I'm doing it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's the fine line of being a really good, whether it's recruiting to a university, a Power Four, whether it's recruiting in free agency to an NFL organization, is that if you're really part of that 1%, then I have a little bit of expectation in the back of my mind that you're as prepared as I am. And we should never assume anything, right?
The real question is that expectation, I'm not going to say is it fair, because it is fair in my opinion, but is that expectation with millennials and Gen Z, or whatever number we're on, or letter?
I don't know all the letters or numbers. I just follow your lead on that. You don't like those people.
Is that expectation at this point reasonable?
I'm going to jump in and interrupt you. Is that I don't care how old you are, what life experiences you've had. Obviously, I got to tailor my message based on those experiences and the resources you've had. But we're not going to jump to sports as fast, but I'm looking at young men and women is more so on the LPGA side than the PGA side. I've got young men and women that are 17, 18 years old turning pro, and they don't look back.
Now
It's different,
yeah.
but it's the same.
It's different, but the same. But that's why enterprise recruits competitive athletes.
Yeah.
Because the mindset is different. And I think one of the biggest blows to my confidence as a business owner was expecting, not that I lack confidence, but just, coming from that competitive environment, the highly competitive, highly accountable environment, to assuming that anybody I hire is going to be like that, because when you're in that bubble, you take for granted that that's the population, that's the makeup and the mindset.
But think about it. The top 10%, 15%, 20%, up to the top 1%. Think about the traits those individuals have. And, you and I have joked before, if you could find those people to be part of your team, they'd be business owners. So I think that comes back to really what this podcast is all about is, and back to the mother-daughter thing is, you cannot be a successful entrepreneur without a great mentor.
Mm-hmm. Or a plan.
Or a plan.
And
or a process.
Or belief.
Or a belief. But a belief is,
Well, you could use any word for belief. Confidence. Because when you run a business, you're selling something, whether it's yourself or your product or your service.
Right.
If you don't have confidence or belief in that, or confidence or belief in your process, it's not going to bear any fruit. Because any moment of adversity, this is where mentors matter, any moment of adversity, if you don't have anything to fall back on, it becomes much, much harder to push through. And I think that's why in most industries, the success rate is 25 to 30% after the first year. Not for KPMG or Prudential,
right.
but for regular small business entrepreneurs, people who are trying to make something of themselves and build a legacy, on Main Street, USA.
And I think that's why entrepreneurs, and we're talking to everybody, and my point here is that entrepreneurs, not so much by people on the outside, but people that don't have that desire, that don't have that gene, look at entrepreneurs like they've lost their flipping mind. Mm-hmm. And it's entrepreneurs are, they're different. They're wired different. It's not that somebody in a 9-to-5 can't be an entrepreneur, is maybe they haven't had the right mentor, they haven't had the right support, they haven't had the right resources. They didn't know that that world was out there, or that they've sat on their hands for lots of years wanting to do it, but never had anybody push them. Never had anybody not push them, but ask the right questions. I think not everybody, but a large percentage of people have an entrepreneur gene. They just don't know how to act on it. And fear and the status quo and the comfort is very, getting deep here, is very comforting. And as Americans, we always default to the easier path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell my team all the time, never mistake comfort for culture.
No, there's no comfort in the comfort zone is what I always just tell my students.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, you're not growing. I mean, and I don't say this. If somebody just picked up on our podcast today, it's not a negative. I'm not disparaging anybody that's not willing to take a chance. Some people are in situations where they can't take that chance. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people out there that wish they could, but they can't. But it, you know, the mind is a crazy thing to waste.
I have no idea what that means.
No, I know. I know. Yeah. And again, we talk 1, 2, 3, 6, 10 times a day. But no, I'm not. It's not a condescending dialogue we're having. It's not a. It is really scary, and it just this mom and daughter thing just keeps popping in my head that you brought up. Is that I'm sure they had a great service or product, but they just didn't have the right coaching to be prepared for.
I agree with that. But they weren't hanging a known brand. They were trying to start something on their own.
In a retail spot.
And, so they weren't.
Started online.
They didn't open traction. They didn't open Ann Taylor or anything like that. Right. I don't think it's their fault they didn't have the coaching. I think, where they probably went awry was that they didn't seek anything once they realized the challenges that existed. And my whole point in all of this is that that's the rule, not the exception, when people try to start a business. And anybody that takes that risk should be applauded, because it does take courage.
Absolutely.
And it does take a lot of grit to fight through the challenges and the hiccups that come, no matter what it is, no matter what the industry is. And nobody understands that unless they are the person that they are a person who started a business, owned a business, and are in the first generation, not the fourth generation business owner who didn't have to build anything. There are still, any business owner has their challenges, and it's an isolating feeling, but it is different when you're trying to start something. And then think about the community we live in. It's a smaller community, smaller pool. So you want to go swimming in this pool, right? A lot of this in Bushwood. This is and Caddy Day. This is Mrs. Schmelz and Judge Schmelz looking at you three ways from the
I never slice.
A lot of times I go to meetings, think I'm the Rodney Dangerfield character walking in, and but that again is probably the way it is everywhere. But when you're in a little bit of a smaller pool, you feel even more isolated because you see the same people more often. And there are so many people out there that don't have resources to go to for advice and counsel and, really just encouragement.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it the hardest thing I've done. And I'm fortunate, I lean on you. There's other people I lean on. My family has been uber supportive, and not everybody has that. I do have some family members that look at me like I have 6 heads when I talk about things, one being my wife, but she's still supportive and encouraging. And I think I'm one of a very small percentage of people that even have that. And I still feel in moments of isolation, like having to let a person go. I used to have to terminate people in other roles, and it's hard. I've never experienced it as difficult as when it's actually my money. And I don't understand how that, that's counterintuitive, but it makes it even that much harder.
Yeah.
And
well, it's more singular. It's more grounded. It's more, big organization. It's, that they've seen people come and go. In our world, it's, I mean, we had to deal with it not long ago, and we're looking to add somebody, and somebody I thought was really good came to an interview last week, and I had a little different perspective sitting in the interview, and I picked up on things that I didn't see initially, because I'm looking at it from a totally different lens. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have said that, or I thought I coached you better on that, and why would you say that? But from your experience of many years being in big time organizations to now it's a grassroots local business, it hits you a lot harder, and you want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt because you care, even though you pretend like you don't sometimes, but you do. Let the record show Dennis actually has a heart. And whoever
My daughter
listens
does call me the Grinch.
It's more granular now being a small business owner than it was being in big time organizations, because not that you didn't care what you did before, but it was just part of the process. It was part of the system. It was part of the organization. And now it's your organization where, pardon my French, but shit matters every day,
Yeah.
And it's real stuff.
And I made the same mistake twice that I'm not going to make ever again, and I shouldn't have made it twice.
You're going to make it again. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you're going to make it again.
I waited too long to make a change twice. I like to steal a comment I used from somebody. I had a real genuine inventory of myself, and realized I think I waited so long because I was blaming myself for their lack of success,
which is easy to do,
or lack of follow through on what our standards are. And we can always be better teachers and developers of our teams. But when I went back and looked at everything, I would change how I communicated some things, probably asked more questions to make sure there was clarity, but at the same time, it was still clear what our standard was. And I should have made the decision to make a change faster because of the impact that not making the change had on the rest of the environment. And as a small business owner, because like you said, everything's compacted, the impact is even greater on the day-to-day. And for anybody out there listening who manages people, don't wait too long. And
it's easier said than done.
It is easier said than done. Yeah. It's hard.
I mean, we can sit up here and say that.
The other mistake I made was I leaned on industry experience in hiring decisions rather than taking that into account, but really leaning on personal characteristics and personal traits. And I was subconsciously, as an owner, trying to take the easy way out because it would be less time and energy for me to deal with somebody who has experience in the industry, with the products I work with the brands I work with, the systems, et cetera. Very easy and convenient to say, you know what, we're going to overlook this, even though this has me asking a few questions about fit. No, it'll work because ABC. And ABC turned out to be WXY. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. Experience is important, but what I'm saying is you really, really have to make sure the fit is right. Fit with you and your personality, acceptance of your standards, acceptance of how you're going to function as a business, some ethical standards, whatever it is important to your culture, You've got to lean on that more than experience, because if they have the traits right, they'll learn what they need to learn.
Again, it's easier said than done.
That's why it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you have to make mistakes. You know, we talk about being small business owners and entrepreneurs is your day-to-day is not going to be perfect. And it's going to be a constant, you're constantly massaging your team, the process, the system, until you get it to a point where it's an efficient, fine-tuned machine. But yeah, I mean, you read stuff, you listen to stuff. And being a small business owner, there's a bit of an ego in there. And it's hard to check that, because we don't have this platform to preach to anybody. We have this platform to help people and to help them see the mistakes that we make. But it's so easy being in that role where it's your money. You're trying to protect your money and your investment. And if I do this is going to happen. And if I don't do this, this isn't going to happen for a little bit. But in the long run, as you know, looking at your numbers, that you can now say, by me holding on, then in a way trying to be a good guy, it hurts your business. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that you and I try to sort those things out. But until you're in it, until you're in the situation and you're living it and you eventually see it, you can't. I mean, we could put this all in a manual, but until you live the experience, I mean, I could tell you, you could tell me, all your other mentors that you have could tell you that you should have done this, that, and the other. And you can hear them and you can appreciate their expertise and their experience. But until you live it, you won't believe it. Right?
Yeah, and that's why that's why I'm being so demonstrative about I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Because I made it twice.
But
and
you've been in the business, what? I mean,
a year.
Yeah,
or so.
16, 14 months, whatever. Yeah, really, truly a year. Think about the growth you've had in a year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you need to pat yourself on the back.
No, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm Irish Catholic. We don't we don't accept praise or compliments.
Here's to Mr. Polian. And Mr. and Mrs. Davis, yes.
The until you live it, until you see it, is true. But that's why you have to fight through those difficult moments.
You have to live them.
And
I'm sorry.
Fighting through them is living
them. Yeah.
And you have to learn from them.
Yeah.
Right? There's, because yes, mistakes are going to happen, and I'll make 20 mistakes before Friday, but if I'm not learning from them, I'm not going to grow, and my business isn't going to grow. Well, that's my point. Yeah. And that's why there's certain things I'm not going to compromise on anymore. And I don't care if that means people with the brand that I'm associated with aren't happy with my pace or my growth, if it means sacrificing some things that I saw and lived through that actually create a bad business and create a bad reputation, create poor service to clients who expect a standard, right? Mm-hmm. That's what different in a day of poor service and poor social skills and lack of response time and all of those things. My business differentiates itself based on how we treat people. And I'm not going to sacrifice that again because I witnessed it get sacrificed and held on too long twice because I was justifying it with things that really at the end of the day weren't going to help me long term. And that's what makes it, those moments are what make it so hard. But on the flip side, it's what makes it so exciting because of the opportunity that you have to fix things and grow things and show proof of concept in your process and all that.
And I think that journey, that concept is what connected you and I, because I went through the same thing when I was growing my business. And I got in on the tail end of your recruiting process, but as you and I kind of...
You didn't say really anything. I got nervous. I was like, oh man, this guy thinks I'm probably...
I was on the back seat of your recruiting process. But when I got an opportunity to help, I did everything I could to tell you all the mistakes that I made. And I was in the same situation. I mean, you and I, the parallels in our previous careers are, even though they're different industries, they're very much the same. We were held to a very high standard, and we worked to exceed that standard. But we did it the right way. And then you were brought into an industry that I had experience in almost 10 years. And although I wasn't involved in your recruiting process directly, I could connect with you in that I knew your background, I knew your success. That didn't really matter, but it did. And it was really my mission for you. I wanted you to succeed, but not fail either, because do you love to win or do you hate to lose kind of thing? And we love to win, but my goodness, we hate to lose. Mm-hmm. We hate it.
Oh, I can't stand when I look at month to month, and if I don't see the right percentage growth, it kills me.
Yeah. So I think your most successful people in that top tier, if you ask them if they love to win or hate to lose, the majority of them would say they hate to lose.
Mm-hmm. Now, in our business, here's the funny thing. The most successful people in our business in the top tier, they've been around more than 15 years too. There's a long play to it that gets missed in business ownership.
Yeah. Well, you don't build an asset in this business. You don't build an asset in years 1 to 3. Build habits. Mm-hmm. And if there's some flashy bonus program, this, that, or the other, you are programmed to chase everything you can to be really hot, really fast. And it looks great initially, but my biggest thing when I was recruiting was you're building an asset. Well, I just said you don't build an asset in years 1 to 3, although they throw a bonus program at you that make you credible from day one. But no, I mean, if you want some staying power in this business and you truly, truly, truly want to create an asset, you have to build the habits before you really build this monster of an agency. Mm-hmm. And the message is great from a sales standpoint, but the true meaning of it all is in this industry, in this particular company, is they really talk about building an asset. I mean, when you build this agency, you're creating your own asset. And why am I going to compromise myself, my beliefs, everything that I'm about, everything that I've had success doing in the past to chase this bonus when I could go out of business in a year and a half, 2 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good place to leave it, the bottom line. And I think it applies to the business we're in, but really all businesses, because most companies, when you're starting out with a brand, even in franchising, in retail, it's actually kind of the same. The concepts are all the same.
Yeah.
The models are the same. It's a little bit of a pyramid. And the reality is perseverance, a little bit of grit, a little bit of more grit, and patience, because it's hard. But like anything, nothing worthwhile is easy. And in the end, it's worth it because, like you said, you've built an asset.
Right.
You know, and with that, I think we got to leave it until next time. This topic's going to come up again for sure.
Wow.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
I had more content.
We'll see you next time on the front porch.
Love you, Rowan. Love you, Reese. See ya.
Thank you for joining us on the front porch. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, share, and leave a review so more people can join the conversation. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading strong, and we'll see you back on the porch soon.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.